Welcome to War Never Changes, everyone. My name's Aaron Love. With me today is the legendary Jonah Lobe, the character artist for Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Skyrim, and many other projects. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about your Deathclaw being on Fallout TV show and all that excitingness happening around Fallout right now?
It's really fun. It's really fun. I feel like I don't make any more money.
Yeah.
And my name is not in the credits because I didn't work on the show itself, and I haven't worked at Bethesda for 12 years.
Yeah.
But I do feel like when Fallout stock is rising, my stock rises, and I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
But I think more importantly, I like what they've done with the Deathclaw. There's one or two things I would do differently, but like. Overall, I love that introduction. I can't wait to see it in this next episode. I mean, it's going to be probably the greatest hour of television of my life, probably, just because it feels personal, and I know that even though there's been changes made to the design, Jonathan Nolan said in an interview, like we tried to remain as faithful as possible as like the Fallout 4 design with just a few tweaks here and there, and he even mentioned. Not me, not by name, but he was just like, I even saw that the creator of the Fallout 4 Deathclaw, like, saw online that it was so, similar and was chuffed by that. So, I have decided that this Deathclaw that we see on screen is as close to my Deathclaw as I could reasonably hope for.
That's fair.
And I'm excited for it to get its shine because I feel like this is something that Todd Howard has said this is what he's most excited about. They were thinking about bringing Deathclaws into season 1, and they instead were like, no, we need to give this thing space, in the story and and give it like its spotlight. If we were going to do it, we got to do it right. And so I feel very certain that they're going to do it right, and it's going to be a very impactful scene, and I think Deathclaws are going to be more famous after this than before. I feel like this. I just think there's not a lot of huge, giant monster fights in television that are going to be of the scale and magnitude that we're going to see of this.
Yeah. And
so I think it's going to leave a lasting impact. And so I want the best for Fallout, and I want the best for the Deathclaw, and I'm pumped.
Yeah. That's understandable. Yeah, I was. From what we've seen so far, at least, spoilers for whoever's watching, episode 4, season 2 of Fallout. But what I thought was really interesting was the fact that it was from what we've seen, it looks like the encounter isn't going to be with somebody that's in power armor. Because like in Fallout 4 in those games, most of the time you see something that seems like almost on equal ground. A person in power armor versus a Deathclaw seems pretty even, but when Lucy and the Ghoul just walk up to Freeside and there's multiple Deathclaws, it's like, oh man, they're screwed. So that's what I'm excited for. Is like I think because they chose not to do somebody in power armor, it feels more scary, more like realistic.
Oh yeah,
and that it definitely increases the intensity. So. Oh yeah,
I mean. Power armor can take a hit, human can't.
Yeah.
Even one hit can't do it. And you want people to actually fear the Deathclaw. And this is the inherent problem with the Fallout 4 inclusion of the Deathclaw in Concord, where you get the power armor and then you face off the Deathclaw. Yeah. It is a spectacular set piece. Yeah. For sure. But if you want to instill players with that feeling of terror of this thing, it was a little bit too much power too soon in Fallout 4. Yeah. So I think bringing it back to like the faithful roots of like most people's reaction of like, I have a little hunting rifle and, ooh, what's that on the horizon? Oh no, and then they're dead,
Yeah. The not to necessarily compare two different franchises, but I don't know if you've seen Last of Us, but the scene where like the big burly I don't even know, the fungi monster comes out from underneath, and it's the big old brute. It, to me, that scene with the Deathclaw felt so similar. Just like this giant scary being that's almost a tank that you just, oh god, something bad's about to happen.
Totally. Yeah, in that scene in Last of Us, there's already so many zombies coming up that you already knew they were in very, very bad state.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know if they can get through this. And then when you see the big guy crawl out, you go, they're not getting through this. They're not. Yeah, it's a fate. See, that's why I kind of thought it was interesting when when in the trailer you see 2 Deathclaws, and it's like, oh, great.
Yep, that was exactly my reaction. You see the one that opens the door, and you're like, oh god, and then you see the one that's like to the right or the left of them, and you're just like, where are they gonna go now?
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
No, I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm so stoked. So on that, talking about that scene, how do you feel about the Deathclaws essentially running out all the humans of New Vegas? Like, it seems like they've kind of made at least Freeside their nest, and there's like the ghoul's looking around, and he's like, "There's nobody here." So what's your take on them just kind of like taking over the strip? It feels like.
I'm really into it, and I think that the reason for that is because New Vegas is obviously a center and a hub of like so much great storytelling and the confluence of different factions and all these things. But New Vegas as a location itself is an inherently extraordinarily volatile place. Power is teetering in multiple different directions at all times. And when we're talking about Fallout, we're talking about weapons of mass destruction on all sides. Yeah. And when you have like an area that is so hotly contested, I mean, chaos can only survive so long. Like it's you can't have this like, oh, this one like bad town. Like here's the thing. Everyone loves Vegas, and New Vegas is like the promise of Vegas, but like post-apocalyptic, and it's different and all these other things. But if you look at the scope of human history, a place like that there's gonna be dark periods, right? Like where things are going bad. And so I can easily see a circumstance. I mean, there's many circumstances I can imagine where a Deathclaw would end up just sitting down in the middle of the place being like, this is mine now. Because, and I don't think it would be precipitated by Deathclaws. I think it's the kind of thing where one faction heavily weakened and destroyed another, or whatever. I think like a lot of factions, whatever, where I think there's a lot of violence happening between the people, and amid that chaos, when people were weakened and kept their eyes off the ball, someone pissed off a Deathclaw, or something, or drew a Deathclaw in, or like a Deathclaw had a reason to go in there, and at that point, like everyone's just going to run, So I mean, obviously, Deathclaw killed a lot of people to get there, but like the reality of the situation is, if the Deathclaw wants to move in there, 90% of those people actually are probably still alive. But they just had to leave, they just had to fucking run.
Yeah.
And so like, that to me is kind of like, I saw somebody being like, oh, they ruined New Vegas and all that. And I'm kind of like, all you have to do is clear the Deathclaws out and people will come back to New Vegas. Like it's where people want to be. But like right now, like ain't no one going in there. So I'm into it.
Yeah. Good luck clearing them out. So a parallel that I personally made, which I don't think that the creators of the TV show really thought this far ahead, but as you and I know, I'm a huge Fallout 3 fan. Fallout 3 is my heart and soul, probably just as much as it. Well, I shouldn't say that. Yours is probably a lot more in it than mine, but that is my favorite video game of all time, without a shadow of doubt. Amazing. And so because of that, when the Deathclaws took over New Vegas, it reminded me of, I want to say it's like Quarry Junction or something, but that sounds like it's in New Vegas. There's a town in Fallout 3 that is all completely taken. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. That's completely taken over by Deathclaws. And I was like, I wonder if that was kind of the inspiration, but they're just going to swap it with New Vegas. Because that's kind of the vibe I was getting, was just like, there's no humans in sight, but there's just Deathclaws. So
I mean, I love that idea. I hope they don't show too many at once. I hope these are the only 2 we see, just because, again, overexposure can lead to like a lack of fear, kind of. But I think it's really interesting that like I love the idea of Deathclaws congregating in families, and because it adds just such a dimension to the creatures, like they are, like there's everybody wants a pet Deathclaw, but like you can't turn Deathclaw into plushies. Not everyone can have one. In Fallout 3 and 4, I don't believe there's any friendly Deathclaws you can meet except for the ones you tame, and then the one that in Fallout 4 where you save its egg, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to kind of keep it tantalizingly out of reach at all times, because it's like it's the most powerful thing, and if you can become friends with it, like everybody would love to do that, like everybody. And so, there's aspects of the Fallout 4 Deathclaws. The Fallout 3 Deathclaws I thought was just like terrifying, like skeletal demon things.
Yeah.
But the Fallout 4 Deathclaws are much more like animals, kind of, and I gave them kind of like a little bit of pink around the nose and things like that to make it feel like, if you touch their nose, like it would be warm. Like you would feel, it enhances that feeling of touchability. And if you've ever touched the nose of a horse or something, you're like, wow, it's warm and soft and like, whatever. And it's very interesting. And so I think that adds like an element of like sympathy. And so I love the idea that there's just a family of just horrible murdering machines. But it has a nice, but they're a family,
Yeah.
The family that eats together stays together.
So on the note of the nose and the snout, it definitely looks like the new TV show version almost has like a dog-like snout compared to your design of Fallout 4, and Fallout 3. Do you have a take on that? Do you think that that's like their way of trying to make it a little bit more sympathetic, or do you think that it's a way of just making it look more ferocious, or what's your take?
My initial take when I saw some pictures, especially when I saw the McFarlane toy, I thought I hate it. It looks bad. Like it looks like they're trying to make it like extra scary, and it just looks lamer. But I think that ended up being just the McFarlane take, because when I saw the real thing, I was like, oh, okay, that's much more like realistic and not like demonic.
Yeah.
I have a reel about this. If anybody follows me on YouTube or on Instagram, you probably saw this. But yes, I have some theories, and I do think it does look like someone's dog. And I think that in my mind, what I said in that reel was, I think they're doing that in an effort to increase its sympathetic nature. I don't think they're going to use it sympathetically. I don't think this is going to be like a nice Deathclaw. I think it's going to just try to kill them and it'll roar and all the things. But it gives a slight mammalian feel to them. And I think that is, and people like dogs, people really like dogs. Especially when you look at the pink around the eyes, the pink around the mouth, like these things are like, that's kind of like what a pit bull might have, So that's certainly, and then you look at the head being a little bit rounder, as if it's got like kind of up here. Its eyes are less recessed under like kind of hoods compared to the Fallout 4 version, and the jaw is slimmer and smaller. Now I believe I'm beginning to wonder if part of that has to do with, I think that might be a matriarch or like a mother, because the horns kind of come out a little bit. Oh. And so I'm wondering if that's the mother, and then the one that we see in the trailer is the alpha, because I saw the other one has like horns that kind of come out like this.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if they're trying to add some vague anthropomorphic elements to the so that you see them and go, oh, that's the mother and that's the father. Like, oh,
yeah,
yeah. But I think that I'm very happy with my Deathclaws. I think my Deathclaws are like the best things I've ever made, and I love their faces. And so I don't like when things have personalities that are a little bit different, because conveying the personality is so powerful. But I do think that there's not a lot of expressive direction in my design. My design has an inherently terrifying like visage. Yeah. The eyes are just like, they're like under these kind of like eagle-like hoods, and they look like they're, he looks like it's scowling all the time, and it just has like kind of like hungry lion look all the time. Yeah. And I love that, obviously, and players connect with that as well. But I think that they've gone with something that has a lot more potential expression, and I think that to me is worth the trade-off, because that tells me that they are leaving the door open to more of these. Here's my theory.
Okay.
They know that Deathclaws are going to be a hit, right? Like the showrunners were like, when we bring on Deathclaws, we have to do it right. We got to give it the 5-star treatment because everyone's going to be watching that scene.
Yeah.
And inevitably, when you do that and you have this amazing moment of television where everyone's like, oh my God, the Deathclaw. Now you've created a series high that you have to somehow fight to meet again. And if Deathclaws are going to be this popular from this episode, they're going to have to bring them back. Yeah. And so, in my mind, a more expressive Deathclaw bodes very well for the future of Deathclaws in the show. Interesting.
So you kind of touched on it, and I definitely wanted to go back. So something that I've been meaning to ask you for a while is, you mentioned the mom and the dad Deathclaws. And I know that there's like a hierarchy, like the alphas, and there's like a different hierarchy throughout the Deathclaws. Is there any similarities to the Deathclaw hierarchy to your Mirelurk hierarchy that you created with the kings and the queens and that sort of thing?
Oh, interesting. No, completely different. I think crustaceans are their own thing. Crustaceans don't feel feelings in quite the same ways. I don't pretend to know how they feel feelings, but I think when you're dealing with something aquatic based, you're dealing with something that is like an older species, than anything land dwelling, and kind of colder and more primal. And so I think Mirelurks themselves are a very stupid species of monster. I think they're just profoundly dumb. But they're exactly as smart as they need to be to survive. Yeah. And crabs are dummies, but they're a perfect design, and they'll outlive us. And so Mirelurks themselves are, I think they're much more like just like, typical the male Mirelurk puts his sperm in the water and it fertilizes all the eggs and it spreads across the ocean and whatever, all that stuff. I think, and so I think you have, I think it's a much more just kind of like primitive lifestyle. Yeah. Now, with that said, the Mirelurk kings, being a completely different species, to me, the Mirelurk kings are very smart in particularly like nasty ways, I think. Okay. In my mind, you remember, so they didn't really do this much in Fallout 4. I don't know if they did it at all. So I modeled the Mirelurk King from Fallout 4 to look like to stand up tall. Yeah. It was supposed to stand up tall. But I made that guy after I left Bethesda. Oh. It was the only contract job I did for them after I left, and then I made this Mirelurk King, and I kind of went wildly off script. I made it look way different from the concept art, all these things, but I didn't have any say over the animation at all. And unfortunately, it was assigned to an animator he was my least favorite animator. Fair. As a guy, he was great. As an animator, he just didn't have it. And he made them kind of jump like frogs. Yeah. And for me, I was kind of like, but they're Mirelurk kings. Like, they have to do something to earn the name, and kings don't hop. Kings stride, Yeah. Anyway, all of which is to say, in Fallout 3, they use a sonic attack. Yeah. And in my mind, regular Mirelurks, being as dumb as they are, I think cannot stand up to those sonic attacks. I think it messes with their antenna. I think it messes with all of their sensors. I think even like a throat rumbling from a Mirelurk is enough to dominate. From a Mirelurk King is enough to dominate the simple mind of a Mirelurk. And so in my mind, Mirelurk Kings and Mirelurks are completely disconnected species, but Mirelurk Kings are smart enough and have this unique vocal ability that I think browbeats Mirelurks into doing whatever they want, into attacking how they want, or doing this, or even just having them move over and give them their food or whatever it is. Yeah. They can just dominate them. And for me, I was like, that's how they do it. It's you do it through this intimidating sound display that the Mirelurks just can't stomach. They can't stomach. Because what is a crab but like a large sea insect, right? It's just they just scurry. That was always a compelling story for me. And unlike the Deathclaws, there's nothing likable about a Mirelurk King. It is a horrid creature, and even it is like its bread and butter is cruelty to this other species. It's interesting. It's an interesting story.
Yeah. What's your take on the queens? How big they are, and they have the little spawns. That's scary. I don't. Think
I love them. I love them.
You love them.
I did not make them. I thought, but I think they were really, really cool. I don't know who made them because they were made after I left.
Yeah.
I appreciate that they were based on my Mirelurk, but they although I should say my Mirelurk's based on the concept art of Ilya Nazarov, who's a concept artist there. He did awesome concept art for it. So, nice. Unlike the Deathclaws from Fallout 4, I cannot wholly say they're mine, even though I sculpted them.
Yeah.
Because Ilya is an awesome guy. I love them though. I think they look really ridiculously like large and like top heavy and they're pretty terrifying. The spray of acid is just like it's so potent and like so deadly. Every time I saw them I got nervous because I was like, this is not fair. Like they're just spraying me with like but also like I also believed it. It didn't feel cheap. I was like, no, I believe that. I believe that giant walking water tank can squirt acid at me. That's yeah.
How do you feel when you're playing a game that you actually designed the creatures and stuff for? Because you were just talking about multiple experiences of playing Fallout 4, and I'm like, I can't imagine what that'd be like to play a game and then be like jump scared by your own creature that you created, or like so forth and so on. That has to be a very interesting, unique experience that not a lot of people get to experience.
Yeah, it's a good experience. I haven't played a lot. I played Fallout 4 when it came out, but you have to remember that when I left, they were still very much in production.
Yeah.
I was one of the first people on the art team on Fallout 4, so I got a head start, but I left multiple years before it got released. And so when I played it, I was like, oh, this is so fun. I get to like play a Bethesda game that I didn't totally make. But I always felt good about seeing my stuff in the wild. I think it's really it's really fun, very gratifying to see these things moving around because, you can spend a lot of time creating them, but when they're actually moving around and like living a life on screen, I feel very, very proud, very, very proud indeed. It's a good feeling.
A proud papa.
For sure. Yeah, proud papa. I'm proud of my creation.
That's awesome. There was one more question, at least I wanted to ask about the Deathclaws, especially in the TV show, because the internet is running wild with all these theories about the scene that's in Anchorage when Cooper Howard is in his power armor and he's on the ground and the Deathclaw comes up to him and it like sniffs him, and there's like a growl type sound, and the internet's going a buzz because there's people that are saying that the Deathclaw actually spoke to him. And some people say that the growl sounds like he says Marine. I've seen people say that it sounds like he says warm meat. I've heard all these different interpretations. I remember from our last interview, you said that you weren't a big fan of the talking Deathclaws. But I was just curious of what your take was on seeing that in the TV show, or if you thought that was them actually speaking, or what your take on it was.
I think probably the audio guy did say something like Marine or something like that, and they tried to like bury it under all the sound, which was smart. I think as long as it stays to like a couple different words and it stays like very sub-guttural like that, I'm probably okay with it. Yeah. I have a problem with it. I've never liked the speaking Deathclaws. It's the kind of thing that you can pull off really easy in like a top-down isometric game where like you don't have to look too carefully at the model, But the creature designer, me, trying to imagine a Deathclaw being able to move its mouth and tongue like into human words doesn't seem right to me. But I do love the idea of extreme intelligence in Deathclaws, and an ability to read patterns and to recognize individuals and to do like non-verbal communication. Do you know what I mean? I'm actually really into that. And in fact, when I saw the Deathclaw in that last scene pull open the doors, obviously I had to do like the dramatic like rip the doors off thing, but my most favorite part of that is actually when it just curls its hand around the door and just pulls slightly. Because it just seems to indicate like it knows exactly what a door is. It's not like whatever, it's not like it's not like a bull in a china shop. Totally,
Yeah.
like it can work its way around. So I love the idea of Deathclaws being intelligent. I love the idea of seeing it in the Alaskan front. I know the lore says like they were never like well, the lore technically says there's no recorded incidents of them being deployed before the war.
Correct. Yeah.
But I think what we got in that you know that scene was that nobody told anybody that there was going to be death claws in the war. They sent the guys with the T-45s in and did not mention to them that, by the way, we're going to be like testing out these giant, hybrid reptiles.
Yeah.
But and I thought it was also interesting that like the Deathclaw obviously was thinking real hard about eating them,
Oh yeah.
but in my mind I was like, it's been trained to not attack anybody in power armor.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is. And again, that is indicative of great intelligence. And so I'm a huge fan of intelligent Deathclaws.
Yeah.
But I'm wary of speaking
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah, the theories I've heard online, and supposedly there's some lore about it in Fallout 2, that they can mimic human speech like parrots.
Yes.
But they can't actually like fully have a conversation,
Yeah.
but they can just like
and
say
I like
words.
that. That's cool.
Yeah, I think that's cool too.
Yeah.
But when you were talking about recognizing patterns, the first thing that I went to was like the first. Well, besides in the power armor, like in Concord in Fallout 4, when you're shooting at the Deathclaw and it's like weaving back and forth, like almost trying to dodge your bullets, I was like, that scene still sticks in my mind because I'm like, holy crap! Not only is this thing a tank, but now it's smart enough that it's coming for me and I can't even hit the thing. So I
love that animation.
Yeah,
I
it's
love
so
that.
good.
Yeah, that's my friend Jang. So my friend Jang had not been able to. He's in my Skyrim documentary on YouTube. If anyone's
nice.
seen that, he's an animator. He had to do almost exclusively NPC animations for like years and years. So that Deathclaw from Fallout 4 is the first monster he ever got to do. Period.
Dang.
And I worked with Jang for years, and he was like, I will do everything I can to make this like the best, because like I can't believe I get to do the Deathclaw.
Yeah.
And so when he came up with that like juking animation, I was like, dude, you just changed the game. Like that looks so intimidating, and like the human, you don't know when it's going to happen, and your hand can barely keep up, and
Yep.
there's very few creatures that do that. Mirelurks will just go right up to you and taking bullets all the way, but Deathclaws are like dodging. Makes anything that's that big that moves quickly is extra scary.
Oh, for sure. And that's really cool that your buddy got to animate your creature. That's really cool. It
was really cool. It was super fun, and we got to like talk through ideas, like how it moved and what it did, and I had to explain the idea of like the tongue, and even just trying to get the tongue right with him, because he had the tongue like kind of flicking out really quickly, and I was like, no, you have to see, like, if you ever seen a Komodo dragon, it has like a long, like foot and a half like tongue, whatever, and it's not like a quick flick. It like slides in and slides out and slides in and slides out, and like this is a giant long, like it's a giant long piece of meat. I don't know what to tell you, like it's yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Kind of to so I had a interesting question. Has there been any variation of a creature that you originally designed that you love, but you didn't make the variation, if that makes any sense? So, like, for example, like I know that there's like mythic Deathclaws, and there's like all these other different types, especially in like Fallout 76 and all these other games that came after you, but still kind of use your original designs. I was just wondering if you had like a really cool variant that you really enjoyed.
Good question. Yeah, so I haven't played 76.
Oh, okay.
But if I'm looking through the list now, there's definitely some ones I like more than others. Which ones are these? Let me just look at this list, because I've obviously I look for pictures of Deathclaw all the time, and so
I'm sure.
yeah. The Savage Deathclaw is very cool. The albino is a great idea.
Yeah.
And the alpha is and the matriarch are probably some of my favorites.
That's valid.
But I don't love the glowing one. The chameleon ones are great ideas. I think they could have been executed a little bit more elegantly, but Yeah, this is one of those circumstances where I would have loved to do these variants myself
Yeah, I bet.
because I would have gone a little harder,
Hmm.
but it's hard when you make the asset and then you leave the company,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
someone else has got to like handle your thing, and they don't know your files, and they don't know, and whatever. And so I think it's just harder to, you know, yeah. So like I got to do all the dragons in Skyrim in
Yeah.
the at least in the vanilla game, and so being able to like take the dragon model that I made, which is the default dragon, and then make like the frost one and the blood one and the ancient one, and you're kind of forced every time to like think through like what do you have to do to like make this an inherently different feeling dragon.
Hmm.
So I would have loved that to do that for the Deathclaws, and I would have like for sure like referenced New Vegas to like do the mother Deathclaw and things like that. I think that would have been fun, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about going back in the sense of like being just like a consultant, of just being like, hey Jonah, we have this really cool idea for the TV show or for Fallout 5. Like, would you ever, like, if they called you up and were like, hey, we'd like to bring you back just to be a consultant, would you jump at the chance, or do you think that time is just past in your life?
I mean, I would. I mean, it's not a job I would take full time because I have my own thing going on.
Correct. Yeah.
But yeah, I would totally. I think. Listen, I've got lots of ideas, and like and at this point, I've got a lot of experience, and so like there ain't no one calling me,
Yeah.
because everyone's got their own job and everyone's whatever, and no one's thinking to do it. But yeah, listen, Jonathan Nolan, if you're listening, I got some great ideas. I've been
Yeah.
thinking about this for years. I got some great ideas. Yeah, totally,
Yeah.
totally. It's a really cool world, and I think there's a lot of room for storytelling. And I'm not always impressed with the directions people take it. And I
Yeah.
think that I think what I can do pretty well is figure out kind of what is iconic and full of potential storytelling, and hopefully, yeah. But yeah, no, I mean that'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, speaking of iconic, I think that your Fallout 4 Deathclaw is insanely iconic, and I don't think that design's going anywhere anytime soon. I mean, they've carried it over to 76. I'm sure they're going to still use at least the base design for future Fallouts. So I think you definitely have a running Fallout legacy going. Which
Thanks to the TV, it feels that way. So yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. It's a great universe. I'm glad I'm glad I got to contribute something.
Yeah. So I have a kind of a curveball question for you.
Sure.
If you got to choose the location of the next Fallout game, where would you choose, and how would it alter some of the creatures you've created, like Deathclaws or Mirelarks?
I would pick New York.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, so I live here in New
Def-
York,
yeah.
and I think it's got a notable, it's got quite a known skyline,
Hmm.
but it's also got, multiple boroughs, Brooklyn and Queens and
Hmm.
Bronx and all that. And you can go far afield to other areas around there, go to New Jersey and this and that.
Yeah.
But I think you have a lot of storytelling possibility there. All kinds of iconic places, all kinds of cultural references could be made. And I think it would be really, really awesome to see some really big places, like going into Fallout and going into like Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
you know, but have it be empty or built out into like a multi-story town or whatever it is,
Yeah.
would be really cool. Like that we, and then seeing like the Empire State Building, but like whatever futuristic version they have in the 1950s future, it would be really cool. And
Yeah.
I think it'd be really great. And I think in terms of design change, I think there'd certainly still be Mirelurks because there's the rivers that here.
Yeah.
I think things like Deathclaws would be slimmer and bonier for kind of like fitting in between in alleys and things like that, and like moving through apartments, that kind of thing. I think that would inherently favor Deathclaws that were smaller in size.
Yeah.
Because they could just much more easily get to people. And I think that would be really cool. And then I also picture, as you know, I have the beast that I hope to one day somehow get into the Fallout universe, which is the maypole.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine the maypole just slowly walking through the streets of New York. It's as tall as the buildings around it, and it's just moving slowly through. Be really fun. Be really fun.
So intimidating. Yeah, that would.
Wouldn't it be so cool if you were just on like the 7th story of a building or something like that, and then you heard this thing coming, and your Geiger counter started going up, and you just like watched like giant legs like move slowly through the streets, and it'd be great.
Yeah, better yet, you're in a building and you just see the eye through the window or something. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd be phenomenal. That's so cool. That's such a cool idea. So kind of moving on to some of your other projects here. I know that you did the Marvel Anatomy book, which is illustrated phenomenally. That the artwork in that is so beautiful.
Thank you.
So, if you wouldn't mind, kind of a 2-part question. One, would you mind telling the story of how that kind of came to be? And also, follow-up question, would you ever be interested in doing a Creatures of Fallout Anatomy book? Because I think that would be so cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll start with that one.
Yeah.
Doing the Creatures of Fallout Anatomy, yeah, I mean, it'd be really fun. It'd be really fun. I think probably I wouldn't do it just because just the practical, like boots on the ground, like would it pay well? How much time would it take? Would it increase my profile? Like these are the kinds of like calculations that I, as a contract independent guy, have to like make.
That's right.
And for the same reason that I'm not, that I feel okay about not working on Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah. I worked on Elder Scrolls 5, so like when it comes to like cred, like I've got the cred, and like working on multiple of the same title doesn't necessarily increase your cred that much. So I kind of have to think about my career a little bit these days, kind of like that.
Yeah.
But in theory, hell yeah! Oh my god, I would love to do that. It was so fun. It'd be so fun. I could go pages and pages with that stuff.
Oh yeah.
And then your other question was about how Marvel Anatomy came along. Well, it came along because of my work on Fallout and Skyrim.
Okay.
The publisher of the house that made it, and I can, since this is on YouTube, I can show you guys here.
Yeah.
This is the collector's edition here of Marvel Anatomy. And essentially, the publisher of this book had this idea and wanted to find the right illustrator for it. And he knew me from my work on Skyrim and Fallout. And so he reached out to me. Because of that and was like, I got this weird idea for a book. Like, are you in? and because I'm not a huge, I love video games. I was never like as much into comics, and so even though, I was never that much into superheroes.
Yeah, that's fair.
And part of that also was, I think, a professional thing where I was like, the world of superheroes is so canonized. There's no room for flexibility, and as an artist, I would simply just be telling more and more Marvel stories.
Yeah,
and there wouldn't be much room for me to invent things and create things. And so that's why something like video games was such a better fit, because I like creating and inventing new things. Yeah. That's what keeps me kind of intellectually connected.
Yeah.
But this book, because no one had done this before with Marvel, where you're basically looking inside of Marvel superheroes to see, and villains, to see what they do, to see how they do what they do, that is a realm no one's touched. And so I realized that was a realm in which I could actually affect a lot of change to the canon of Marvel, where like suddenly like this thing is like a scientific manual of how so many things in Marvel work. And so, it was a very unusual kind of assignment for me. And, I hadn't even really drawn a superhero before I made that. But superheroes are pretty straightforward, and they have very super iconic. Each one has a super iconic design, a very clear personality. The suit, the body, all these things. And so the book is out. It hit 25,000 copies this past year, and we'll just keep. I think it's a book that'll be around forever, which is awesome, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's it's super cool. I still need to get my own copy. I'm a huge comic book nerd, so that's you're kind of meeting my you're totally meeting the cross of all my fandoms. I grew up with the X-Men cartoon as a kid, so that's what started it for me. But totally, it's so good. But yeah, so yeah, the question about the Fallout, I would love to see like what the underneath the shell of a Mirelurk looks like, that sort of thing. That's kind of where my brain goes. And like, you know, the Wolverine in your book where he's like slashing, it's like all I can picture is a Deathclaw doing the same thing. So yeah, like, yeah, it'd be super cool to see that kind of breakdown.
I mean, I might make a piece of art. I don't think I'll have time before this San Diego Comic-Con this year because I'm still working on my own graphic novel, but I really want to create like an anatomical, like someone had seen this picture here in one of my videos and was like, what's that anatomy thing behind you? And I was like, well, it's not actually anatomy, but it kind of looks like it because it's like one shot from the side, one shot from the front. But I want to do like an anatomy drawing of a Deathclaw. I think that'd be a really cool piece of art.
Super cool.
Would that be fun?
I'm super on board for that. Yeah, speaking of some of the other projects you've done, how did and correct me if I'm wrong, but did you get commissioned to draw Ragnar from the Red Rising series by Pierce Brown, or was that just fan art, or how did that come to be?
That was just fan art.
Really?
So I was doing a lot of streaming around that time. I was streaming, and I think I was streaming for Adobe, maybe, and that just involved me hopping on stream, trying new things, experimenting, and then talking about the art that I'm making as I'm making it. So I think I was reading the Red Rising series, and I just started drawing that.
Fair.
And then I got into the drawing, and I was like, I did the whole way through, and then I tweeted it to the author, and he made it his like pinned tweet for like I think like over a year. Awesome. But that was really cool, and so I've actually got to hang digitally with Pierce Brown a couple of times. He's a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he seems great. I've seen his Q&As and stuff. That's super cool. Yeah, as soon as you posted that, I was like, Ragnar is my favorite character in the whole series. And so I was just like, gotta save it. It's going to be my new phone wallpaper. That's super cool, though, that you're doing stuff for like Adobe and showing your process. Because I think that's
I was for a while. No longer, but yes, I was for a while. It was great. Yeah.
I think that's something that a lot of people that appreciate artists don't actually get to see. I think that they just see the finished product and they're like, oh, you know, that's phenomenal, but like you don't get to see all the hard work and all the process and all the technique that goes into that. That's super cool. Oh, this is a good question. I totally skipped over this when we were talking about Deathclaws. How do you think that the scenes that we've seen would have changed if they would have used CGI instead of practical effects? I saw a interview with Walter Goggins talking about that scene. He said that the Deathclaw was actually made with practical effects and like 3 different puppeteers that were doing it. And I thought practical effects are always the way to go, in my opinion. But I wasn't sure, you as the artist that created the Deathclaws, if you would have felt cheapened or something if they would use CGI instead. I just kind of wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah, I think it would have felt cheaper.
Yeah.
I agree. I think when it comes to acting, I think, so much, 90% of acting is reacting, as they say. And so I think it's much easier to react when there's actually a thing there, and you're like looking up at it. It really adds to the feeling that they are in a scene together. That this is not our actors running around on a green screen with like this horrible monster. I think also like, with puppets, you can only move so fast and you can only do these certain movements. Whereas in CGI, you can kind of just like as fast as it needs to be or whatever. And they don't always take into account the weight and the momentum and all these things. They try to make it look like that, but at a certain point, they don't have to actually follow the rules of physics. And so when you have like kind of a like large puppet thing, there's going to be an element of it that moves a little bit more ponderously, and that feels real. Even if you prefer that it didn't actually move quite as ponderously as it does, it makes you believe that it's there.
Yeah.
you look at the old movie like The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing, and they did a good job with the sequel, but a lot of it's CG, and it's just not the same. Like you don't feel like the actors are getting actually like wet touching this thing. There's not blood like in the scene, and so I think they did a great job, and they were very vocal about their commitment to making this thing real. And in fact, when I was at San Diego Comic-Con last year, somebody who worked on the show stopped by and was like, "Oh my gosh, I've seen this puppet, and like it gave me shivers." I was like, "Oh yeah, okay, nice." No, I think it's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
I think the fact that it's an actual puppet just brings it so much more to life. I think there's nothing wrong with computer graphics or anything like that, but I think the fact that they actually brought it to life, like that's how I look at puppets, opposed to just, some digital artwork. It's just now that thing exists in the real physical world.
Totally.
Which is
this is also one reason why I'm a little peeved, not peeved, a little frustrated that nobody like on the show was like, "Hey, we're spending like a huge amount of our budget on this like creature. Maybe we should like quickly ping the guy who made it."
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know, like, fly me out to set. Let me see this thing. Let me just, like, come on. But no, nothing. Not an email, nothing.
That's a shame.
It's a shame. Yeah. It's, I'm not that salty about it really, because I'm like aware.
Yeah.
But like the world would be a nicer place if people did that kind of thing more often, like it didn't. That's been the only bittersweet aspect of seeing the Deathclaw on screen and watching the show fall out. And it's something that I had, if anybody is listening to this, if you haven't been following me on YouTube, I just released a huge Deathclaw video, and I'm releasing another one very soon. And so get on that. My content there is going to be dope, and I got a lot of videos coming this year. But what I was going to say was, in trying to write about the Deathclaw and share my thoughts on the Deathclaw and all these things, I had to wrestle with my own ego so much more than I anticipated.
That's fair.
Because the Deathclaw is my baby above all babies. I made dragons and giants, all these things, and they're like, because they're entirely my design, they feel like they feel so special to me.
Yeah. And
seeing that you can launch an entire show for millions and millions of dollars, and you can spend all this budget on here, and I'll have all these people working on it, and even the director is like, "Oh yeah, we wanted to stay true to this particular vision and whatever," and yet no one even messages you.
Yeah,
it stings a little bit, because you're like, it just reminds you like, oh, this is a giant corporate money-making machine at its heart, and like a lot of, and I just mean the franchise world. You know what I mean? Like we take things that we love and we blow them up, and we create spin-offs and we do this and that. But it just reminded me, like, this is, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really fine, but it just took me a little while to like kind of come to grips with like, okay, like there's going to be changes from your design. No one owes you anything. Like you were, I was lucky to work the job at the time. I'm honored and privileged and proud, and that's the bottom line. And so that's why I've finally come around to like, what, they made some changes, but like I think it has great storytelling potential, and I look forward to seeing like where they take that. It took me a while to get around to that, like, I am at peace with this feeling.
Oh, I bet.
But
that's super understandable. That was kind of why I asked the consultant question, is because I was surprised that they didn't, honestly. Like, if I was making that show, I would have made that call instantly. Like, that's very... I mean, like you said, it's corporate world. They're doing their thing. They're doing what they think is best for the show. But I strongly agree with you. They should have reached out, and maybe they will in the future. We can only hope.
Yeah, maybe they will in the future. Exactly. Yeah, I would have. I would have hoped. I would have hoped for a little something more. But it is what it is, and there's nothing you can do about it.
True.
So, yeah.
Well, one last quick question. I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's a Fallout Fest that happens in Good Springs every year. And I was curious if you've ever thought about going, because this year a few of the cast members from the TV show kind of surprised everybody and showed up at the Fallout Fest, and Walter Goggins was serving drinks to people and the whole nine. So yeah, I was just curious if you've ever thought about going and seeing people, cosplay and celebrate Fallout.
Absolutely. I would have loved to go this past year. I kind of learned about it too late to go. But yeah, I'm hoping to go next year. And it'd be nice. I don't know how the whole system works. It'd be nice to get like an invitation. I would love to like go there. I'd love to give talks and all these different things. But yeah, you might see me there next year. I don't know. I don't know that I can resist, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And 2026 is like shaping up to be the year of the Deathclaw. So I feel like this might be the time I have to go.
Yeah, you should. We as WarNeverChangesPod, we're trying to go this year as well. It's a rough time of year because it's towards the end of November, mid-November, which is around like the holidays and stuff. My son's birthday is November 21st, and this year it was like 3 days before his birthday, so I was like, ew. But we're definitely gonna try and make the trek next year as well. So hopefully we'll see you
Fantastic.
there. But
yeah, maybe I'll see you there.
Yeah, it'd be great. So I think with that we're gonna wrap it up. And thanks again, Jonah, for being on the podcast and doing the interview. We appreciate your time and appreciate everything you've done for Fallout.
I appreciate you having me on here. Thank you to everybody who are listening. Don't forget to come visit my YouTube, because I am creating yet another Deathclaw video as we speak. The last one was about the anatomy. This one is going to be about the artistic kind of techniques employed to kind of maximize, get as much Deathclaw in the Deathclaw as possible. And while you're there on YouTube, I will also at some point soon be telling you more and more about my graphic novel, Quiet Level 1. And so, look forward to sharing that all with you. And if you come from this podcast to my YouTube, just leave a comment and be like, yo, I came from the Ward Never Changes podcast. What's up? And I respond to everybody. So I will say what's up to you personally.
Awesome. Great. That's great. And I can't wait to see that graphic novel either. I've been waiting and itching for it. So
I'm working on it every day. I'm literally I'm like 7/8 done.
Oh, so it's getting close.
I know.
So
it's getting close.
So stay tuned, everybody. Well, awesome. Once again, thanks, Jonah, and I appreciate your time.
We're all alone, no chaperone can get our number. The world's in slumber, let's misbehave.